It's easy to go through life feeling stuck, wondering why we're not seeing progress, why our dreams seem out of reach. We pray, we work hard, we do our best, but it feels like something is holding us back. The truth is, growth isn't just about effort, it's about identifying what's blocking the path forward. For some, it's the mindset. We tell ourselves, I'll never get past this. I'm not talented enough. I've made too many mistakes. Those thoughts are like walls, keeping us from stepping into the greatness that's already inside us. You have to break free from the negative narrative and start speaking life over your future. Maybe it's the past weighing you down, a disappointment, a failure, a betrayal. You're carrying things that were never meant to stay with you. The longer you hold on, the heavier it gets. But today is the day to release it. You weren't meant to live in yesterday's pain. Your destiny is too big to be defined by your past. Sometimes it's the people around us that keep us from growing, the ones who don't celebrate us, who drain our energy, who speak doubt instead of encouragement. If you're surrounded by negativity, it's time to make a change. Find people who believe in you, who challenge you to rise higher, who remind you of what you're capable of. Then there's comfort, the silent enemy of growth. It's easy to stay where it's safe, where we don't have to risk failure. But real growth happens when we step out, when we take chances, when we say yes to opportunities that stretch us. You weren't created to play it small. There's more in you. And even when it seems like nothing is changing, trust that something is happening beneath the surface. Delays aren't denials. Setbacks aren't the end of the story. Every challenge is preparing you, strengthening you, shaping you for what's ahead. So ask yourself today, what's blocking my growth? And whatever it is, whether it's fear, the past, the wrong influences, or staying too comfortable, decide that it won't hold you back any longer, because there's so much more in store and your best days are still ahead. Sometimes in life we feel like we're doing everything right. We're working hard, putting in the effort, trying to stay positive, yet we're not seeing the growth we expected. We wonder why doors aren't opening, why opportunities seem just out of reach, or why we keep encountering the same struggles over and over again. It's frustrating when it feels like something is blocking us, yet we can't quite put our finger on what it is. What if the biggest obstacles in our way aren't the external challenges we see, but the hidden barriers we don't recognize? These unseen limitations can be more powerful than any outside force because they shape our decisions, our actions, and ultimately our future. Until we become aware of them, we'll continue to be held back without even realizing why. Many times, these barriers come in the form of deeply rooted thoughts and beliefs, things we picked up over the years from past experiences, from what people have told us, or even from cultural or family expectations. We may have unknowingly accepted certain limitations as truth, not realizing they are simply perspectives we've outgrown. Maybe growing up, someone told you that you weren't smart enough, talented enough, or capable enough. Over time, without meaning to, you internalize that message. Now, every time a new opportunity comes your way, you hesitate. You don't step forward because something deep inside whispers, you're not ready, or you're not good enough. That voice isn't reality, it's a hidden barrier. Other times, these roadblocks are shaped by past failures. Maybe you took a risk before and it didn't work out. Maybe you put your heart into something and it didn't go the way you hoped. Now, without realizing it, you hesitate every time a similar opportunity arises. You convince yourself you're just being cautious, but in reality, fear has built a wall that's keeping you from stepping into your full potential. The past was meant to teach you, not trap you. But if you're still holding on to the disappointment, if you're still replaying the failure in your mind, it could be stopping you from moving forward. Another hidden barrier that often goes unnoticed is the way we define success and progress. Sometimes we get stuck because we think growth has to look a certain way. We assume that if we're not getting the promotion, if we're not seeing immediate results, if our plans aren't unfolding exactly as we imagine, then we must not be moving forward. But growth doesn't always happen in obvious ways. Just because you can't see the progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. A seed buried in the soil doesn't look like it's growing, but beneath the surface, roots are spreading, getting stronger, preparing for what's to come. If you judge your progress only by what's visible, you may become discouraged and give up too soon. The truth is, growth is often happening in ways you can't yet see. One of the hardest hidden barriers to recognize is the way we hold on to things that no longer serve us. This could be old habits, unhealthy relationships, or even outdated dreams. Maybe what worked for you in the past isn't working anymore, but you're afraid to let it go because it's familiar. Maybe you've been doing things a certain way for years, and even though it's no longer bringing results, you keep going through the motions because change feels uncomfortable. But real growth requires letting go. If you hold on too tightly to what's no longer meant for you, you'll miss the new opportunities waiting ahead. Sometimes the hidden barrier is simply our own unwillingness to stretch beyond what's comfortable. Growth always comes with challenges. It requires stepping into the unknown, pushing past resistance, and doing things that may feel awkward or difficult at first. It's easy to say we want to grow, but when the process gets uncomfortable, many people stop. They think maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I'm just not ready. But the truth is, discomfort isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign that you're growing. If you always stay where it's easy, you'll never reach the levels you were meant to reach. The good news is, once you recognize these hidden barriers, you can start to break through them. The first step is awareness, taking an honest look at what might be holding you back. Ask yourself, are there beliefs I've accepted that are limiting me? Are there past failures I'm still carrying? Am I defining success in a way that's discouraging me? Is there something I need to let go of? Am I avoiding discomfort instead of embracing it? When you ask the right questions, you start to uncover the invisible walls standing between you and your growth. And once you see those barriers, you have the power to break them down. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to keep repeating the same patterns. You can challenge the limiting beliefs, release the weight of the past, redefine what growth looks like, and step into a new mindset. The moment you do, you'll find that the things that once seemed impossible begin to shift. Doors will open, opportunities will come, and you'll start to move forward in ways you never expected. So today, take a moment to reflect. Don't just look at what's happening around you. Look at what's happening within you. Because sometimes the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be isn't something outside of you. It's something you have the power to change. And when you do, you'll step into a new level of growth, strength, and success that was always meant for you. Our thoughts have incredible power. The way we think shapes the way we see the world, how we respond to challenges, and ultimately the direction of our lives. The mind is like the control center, determining whether we move forward with confidence or stay stuck in fear and doubt. Many people don't realize that what's holding them back isn't their circumstances, their background, or even their abilities. It's the way they think about themselves and their future. It's easy to develop patterns of thinking that limit our potential. These thought patterns don't happen overnight. They're formed over time, often influenced by our experiences, the words spoken over us, and even the culture we've grown up in. If we're not careful, we can go through life carrying thoughts that keep us small, that make us doubt ourselves, and that convince us we'll never go beyond where we are now. For example, someone who has faced repeated setbacks might begin to think, things never work out for me, or no matter how hard I try, nothing changes. At first, these thoughts might seem harmless, just an expression of frustration, but over time, they become a belief system. Without realizing it, that person begins to approach new opportunities with hesitation, expecting failure before they even start. They hold back. They second-guess themselves, and eventually they don't even try. Not because they aren't capable, but because their mind has already convinced them that success isn't possible. Another common pattern is the belief that we're not good enough. Many people go through life feeling like they don't measure up, like they're not smart enough, talented enough, or worthy enough to achieve great things. Maybe someone once told them they wouldn't amount to much, or maybe they've compared themselves to others and felt like they fall short. Over time, these thoughts become internalized. Even when opportunities arise, they shrink back, believing someone else is more qualified or more deserving. But the truth is, the only thing standing between them and their potential isn't a lack of ability, it's the mindset that says, I'm not enough. Sometimes the way we think is shaped by past experiences. If we've gone through disappointments, if we've been hurt, if life hasn't turned out the way we expected, it's easy to develop a negative outlook. We start expecting things to go wrong, assuming that nothing good is coming. Instead of believing for better, we settle into a mindset of discouragement. But when we allow the past to dictate how we think about the future, we end up repeating the same cycles, never truly stepping into the new things waiting for us. It's also possible to have thoughts that seem reasonable, but are actually keeping us from growing. For example, a person might say, I just don't like taking risks, or I'd rather stay where it's safe. On the surface, this sounds practical. After all, nobody wants to fail. But beneath the surface, this kind of thinking is rooted in fear. It's a way of staying in the comfort zone, avoiding challenges, and ultimately avoiding growth. If we never push past what's familiar, if we never take steps that stretch us, we'll never reach the full potential that's inside us. The problem with these limiting mindsets is that they don't just stay in our heads, they shape our choices, our behaviors, and our results. A person who believes they'll never succeed won't put in the effort to try. A person who believes they're not enough will keep settling for less than they deserve. A person who believes things will always go wrong will struggle to see opportunities even when they're right in front of them. The mind has the power to create self-fulfilling prophecies. What we focus on, we attract. What we believe, we act on. And what we act on, we become. But here's the good news. Just as negative thoughts can hold us back, positive, empowering thoughts can propel us forward. The moment we start changing the way we think, everything else begins to shift. Instead of saying, I'll never get past this, we start saying, this challenge is temporary. I'm coming out stronger. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, we start reminding ourselves, I have everything I need to succeed. Instead of expecting the worst, we start believing for the best. Changing the way we think doesn't happen overnight. It takes intentional effort. It requires us to become aware of the thoughts that are holding us back and make a conscious decision to replace them with better ones. Every time a limiting belief comes up, we have to challenge it. We have to ask ourselves, is this really true? Or is it just something I've accepted? More often than not, we'll realize that the thoughts keeping us stuck are just old stories we've been telling ourselves. Stories we have the power to rewrite. One of the most effective ways to break free from limiting thoughts is to surround ourselves with positivity. The words we listen to, the people we spend time with, and the messages we feed our minds all play a role in shaping our thinking. If we're constantly around negativity, it's no surprise that we develop negative thought patterns. But when we fill our minds with encouragement, inspiration, and truth, we start to see ourselves and our future in a new light. Another important step is to take action, even when our minds resist. When a thought tells us, you're not ready, we take the step anyway. When doubt says, you'll probably fail, we remind ourselves that failure is part of learning and growth. When fear whispers, stay where it's safe, we choose to step out, knowing that every great thing in life requires a leap of faith. As we begin to shift our mindset, we start to notice something amazing. Doors that once seemed closed begin to open. Opportunities that once felt out of reach become possible. Strength and confidence start to grow, not because our circumstances have magically changed, but because we have changed. The moment we stop allowing limiting thoughts to control us, we step into a new level of freedom, a new level of possibility, and a new level of growth. So the question to ask today is this: what thoughts have been holding me back? What beliefs have I accepted that are limiting my potential? And more importantly, what new thoughts do I need to embrace to move forward? Because the truth is, the mind is powerful. And when we take control of our thoughts, we take control of our future. Life has a way of bringing unexpected challenges. No matter how strong we are, how much faith we have, or how carefully we plan, we all face moments of hurt, disappointment, and loss. Maybe it was a broken relationship that left you feeling abandoned, a betrayal that shook your trust, or an opportunity that slipped through your fingers. These moments can leave a deep mark on our hearts, shaping the way we see ourselves and the world around us. For many people, past experiences become more than just memories. They turn into burdens that are carried every day. It's easy to replay old conversations, relive painful moments, and hold on to the emotions that came with them. The problem is, when we hold on to what hurt us, it doesn't just stay in the past, it follows us into the future. It affects our choices, our relationships, and our ability to grow into the person we were meant to be. One of the biggest challenges in moving forward is the natural desire for justice. When someone has wronged us, we want to see things made right. When life has been unfair, we want answers. It can feel impossible to let go of something that still seems unresolved. But holding on to the pain doesn't fix what happened. It doesn't change the past. Instead, it keeps us stuck, replaying the same emotions, feeling the same weight, and reliving a story that no longer serves us. Sometimes the hurt isn't from another person, it's from ourselves. We look back at decisions we made, mistakes we regret, and things we wish we had done differently. The weight of guilt and shame can be just as heavy as the weight of anger or resentment. It's easy to believe that because of what happened, we're not worthy of a fresh start. We tell ourselves that we missed our chance, that we're too damaged, or that we'll never recover from what we've been through. But that's simply not true. The truth is, as long as we're holding on to what hurt us, we can't fully step into the life that's waiting for us. Growth requires release. You can't grab hold of something new if your hands are full of yesterday's pain. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what happened was okay. It simply means you are choosing to no longer let it control you. One of the hardest things about letting go is the fear that if we do, we'll lose a part of ourselves. When we've lived with pain for so long, it can become part of our identity. We start to define ourselves by our wounds, our struggles, and our past experiences. But you are more than what happened to you. Your story is still being written. The chapters ahead are not meant to be written with the ink of yesterday's pain. Another reason people struggle to move forward is because they feel that if they let go, it means what happened didn't matter. But letting go isn't about pretending it didn't happen. It's about refusing to let it hold you back any longer. It's about deciding that your future is more important than your past, that your peace is more valuable than staying bitter, that your dreams are worth more than holding on to old wounds. Sometimes we wait for an apology that may never come. We wait for circumstances to change, for justice to be served, for things to finally feel fair. But what if the closure you need isn't something you get from others, it's something you give yourself? What if you don't need an apology to move forward? What if you don't need an explanation to heal? What if you could simply decide that today is the day you stop letting what hurt you keep you from growing? Forgiveness is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. Not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve peace. Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to let that person back into your life. It doesn't mean what they did was okay. It simply means you are releasing the hold they have over you. It means you are choosing to move forward without carrying the weight of resentment. And if it's yourself you need to forgive, then do it. Stop punishing yourself for what you did or didn't do. You are not the same person you were back then. You have grown, you have learned, you deserve grace just as much as anyone else. It won't always be easy. There may be days when old emotions resurface, when memories come back stronger than expected, but every time they do, remind yourself that you have a choice. You can either dwell in the past or you can take another step forward. The more you choose to release, the lighter you will feel. Imagine what your life could look like if you weren't carrying the weight of yesterday. Imagine waking up without bitterness, without regret, without the burden of past wounds. Imagine stepping into new opportunities without fear, loving freely without hesitation, and dreaming again without doubt. That kind of freedom is possible, but it starts with a decision to stop letting the past define the future. No matter what has happened, no matter what has been lost, no matter how deep the pain has been, there is still so much ahead for you. The story isn't over. The best chapters haven't been written yet. But in order to step into them, you have to make space for them. That means letting go of what's behind so you can embrace what's ahead. Today, take a moment to reflect. What are you holding on to that is holding you back? What pain, what regret, what resentment has been weighing you down? And what would it feel like to finally let it go? Because the moment you do, you will find that the weight you've been carrying wasn't just slowing you down, it was keeping you from the growth, the joy, and the future you were always meant to step into. Life is full of opportunities, open doors, and paths that lead to growth and success. But just as there are things that push us forward, there are also things that hold us back. One of the biggest barriers to reaching new levels is the company we keep. The people around us have a direct impact on the way we think, the choices we make, and the vision we have for our future. It's easy to overlook how much influence relationships have on our lives. We may think that just because we have our own dreams, our own plans, and our own vision, we are in complete control of our direction. But the truth is, the people closest to us play a major role in shaping our mindset and our perspective. Their words, their attitudes, and their behaviors can either inspire us to go higher or keep us stuck where we are. Sometimes we hold on to relationships that are comfortable but not beneficial. Maybe it's a friendship that has been in place for years, a family member who has always been in our life, or a circle of people we've grown used to. But just because someone has been in our life for a long time doesn't mean they are meant to go with us to the next level. Growth requires change, and sometimes that means reevaluating who we allow to have influence over us. There are people who will encourage you to dream bigger, challenge you to be better, and push you to step into your full potential. Then there are those who will fill your mind with doubt, discourage your ambition, and make you feel like you're aiming too high. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, it's only a matter of time before that negativity starts affecting your outlook. Think about the conversations you engage in regularly. Are they full of hope, possibility, and excitement for the future? Or are they filled with complaints, criticism, and reasons why things will never change? Words are powerful, and the words we hear consistently shape our beliefs. If you're always hearing that life is unfair, that success is out of reach, or that dreams are just fantasies, you may start believing those things, even if deep down you know they aren't true. Beyond words, the habits and behaviors of those around us can also impact our own. If you're surrounded by people who lack discipline, who make excuses instead of taking action, or who settle for mediocrity, it becomes more difficult to push yourself to rise above. On the other hand, when you're around people who are driven, who take responsibility for their future, and who are constantly working to improve themselves, that energy is contagious. You start thinking bigger, working harder, and expecting more from yourself. Sometimes the people we're closest to don't even realize they are holding us back. They may love us, they may care about us, but their own fears and limitations cause them to project doubt onto us. Maybe you've shared a dream with someone only to have them respond with, "Are you sure you can do that?" Or, "That sounds risky." They may not mean to discourage you, but because they don't see it for themselves, they struggle to see it for you. If you're not careful, you'll start second-guessing yourself, lowering your expectations and shrinking your dreams to fit within the limits of their perspective. Another challenge is loyalty. Many people stay in unhealthy relationships out of a sense of obligation. They feel guilty for wanting more. They worry about hurting someone's feelings or looking like they think they're better than others. But moving forward doesn't mean you have to cut people off completely. It simply means you need to be intentional about who has access to your mind and your energy. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. If you want to grow, you have to surround yourself with people who challenge you, who inspire you, and who push you to be your best. This doesn't mean finding perfect people. Nobody is perfect. It means aligning yourself with those who share your values, who are also striving to improve, and who bring out the best in you. One of the best ways to evaluate your circle is to ask yourself, do the people around me make me better? Do they push me to be stronger, wiser, and more disciplined? Do they celebrate my wins and encourage me when I struggle? Or do they drain my energy, fill my mind with doubt, and hold me back from growing? If you find that certain relationships are more harmful than helpful, it may be time to create some distance. This doesn't mean you have to have a big confrontation or cut people off in a dramatic way. It simply means shifting your focus. Spend less time in conversations that drain you and more time in environments that inspire you. Seek out mentors, coaches, and like-minded people who can help you rise to the next level. It's also important to recognize that sometimes we outgrow people, and that's okay. Growth is a natural part of life, and not everyone is meant to go with you on your journey. Some people were part of your past, but they are not part of your future. Holding on to relationships that no longer serve you can delay your progress and keep you from stepping into the opportunities waiting for you. The good news is, when you create space for better relationships, you will attract the right people. When you start moving in the direction of your purpose, you will find others who are on a similar path. When you raise your standards, you will connect with people who share your mindset and your ambition. So take a moment to reflect. Who are the people influencing your thoughts and decisions? Are they helping you grow, or are they holding you back? If there are relationships that need to shift, have the courage to make the change. Your future is too important to let the wrong people keep you from becoming everything you were meant to be. Life is full of opportunities, but stepping into them requires the right mindset. It's easy to dream about success, to hope for a better future, and to imagine the possibilities ahead. But what separates those who achieve great things from those who remain stuck is not just talent, resources, or luck. It's the ability to take bold, decisive action. Too often, people hesitate when faced with a new challenge or opportunity. They analyze every detail, consider every possible outcome, and wait for the perfect moment. But the truth is, there will never be a perfect moment. There will always be uncertainty, risk, and unknowns. If you wait for everything to be just right, you'll spend your entire life standing on the sidelines, watching others step into what could have been yours. One of the biggest reasons people hold back is fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of making the wrong decision. It's natural to want to avoid mistakes, but the reality is failure is part of the journey. Every successful person has failed at some point. They have faced setbacks, made wrong turns, and experienced disappointment. But what sets them apart is their willingness to keep moving forward despite those challenges. Many people spend too much time overthinking, doubting themselves, and waiting for more confirmation before they take a step. They believe they need more experience, more knowledge, or more resources before they can begin. But growth doesn't happen from the sidelines, it happens in action. The best way to learn is by doing. The best way to gain experience is to step out and start. Think about a time in your life when you hesitated on something important. Maybe you wanted to start a new business, go after a promotion, or pursue a personal goal, but you talked yourself out of it. You convinced yourself that you weren't ready or that you needed more time. Now, looking back, you may realize that the only thing that stopped you was hesitation. Imagine where you could be today if you had taken action instead of waiting. One of the dangers of hesitation is that it creates a habit. The more you delay, the easier it becomes to keep delaying. You tell yourself, I'll start next week. Then next week turns into next month, and next month turns into next year. Before you know it, years have passed, and you're still in the same place, wondering why nothing has changed. Opportunities don't last forever. Doors open for a season, but if you don't step through them, they eventually close. That's why it's important to move when you feel that nudge in your spirit. When you sense an opportunity in front of you, that's not the time to analyze it for months or let fear talk you out of it. That's the time to step forward in faith. Taking action doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out. You don't have to see the entire path to take the first step. Sometimes the way becomes clear only after you start moving. Think about walking in the dark with a flashlight. You may not be able to see the whole road ahead, but as you take steps, more of the path is revealed. Life works the same way. When you step out in faith, doors will open, resources will appear, and the right people will come into your life. But none of that happens until you take action. There will always be voices, both internal and external, that try to convince you to stay where you are. Maybe you've heard people say, what if it doesn't work? Or what if you fail? But what if it does work? What if taking this step leads to the breakthrough you've been waiting for? What if this is the moment that changes everything? You'll never know unless you try. The most successful people are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who refuse to let failure stop them. They understand that every mistake is a learning experience. Every setback is temporary. They don't let fear dictate their decisions. Instead, they take action, adjust as needed, and keep moving forward. Another reason people hesitate is the fear of what others will think. Too many dreams have been abandoned because of the opinions of others. Maybe you've wanted to step out and try something new, but you've held back because you're worried about judgment. You don't want to be laughed at. You don't want to look foolish. But here's the truth. The people who criticize you are usually the ones who aren't doing anything themselves. They are too afraid to take risks, so they try to discourage others from doing what they want. You cannot let their fears become your fears. If you're constantly waiting for approval, you will never move forward. Not everyone will understand your vision. Not everyone will believe in you, but that's okay. You don't need everyone's approval to step into your destiny. The only approval you need is your own. At some point, you have to make a decision. Are you going to let hesitation hold you back, or are you going to move forward despite the uncertainty? The difference between success and stagnation is not more time, more knowledge, or more resources. It's the decision to take action. Think about where you want to be 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If you don't change anything, if you keep hesitating, will you be any closer to your goals? Or will you be in the same place looking back with regret? The good news is you have the power to change your future by the decisions you make today. It's time to stop waiting for perfect conditions. It's time to stop letting fear make your decisions. It's time to stop letting doubt talk you out of your dreams. The opportunity in front of you is not meant to be analyzed forever. It's meant to be seized. Take the first step. Even if it's small, even if you don't have all the answers, even if you feel afraid, take the step. Once you do, you'll realize that action builds momentum. Each step forward makes the next step easier. Before you know it, you'll be moving toward the future you were meant to have. Life is constantly moving forward, bringing new opportunities, new experiences, and new levels of growth. But to fully step into what's ahead, we must be willing to release what's behind. Too often, people hold on to things that no longer serve them. Past mistakes, disappointments, relationships, or even old ways of thinking. Instead of embracing the future with open arms, they stay stuck in what was, unable to make room for what could be. Letting go is not always easy. It requires courage, faith, and a willingness to step into the unknown. Many people struggle with this because they find comfort in familiarity. Even if something is no longer beneficial, it feels safer than stepping into something new. But growth never happens in comfort zones. If you want to move forward, you must be willing to release what is holding you back. One of the most common things people struggle to let go of is past failures. Maybe you tried something before and it didn't work out. Maybe you took a risk and it didn't go as planned. Instead of moving forward, you keep replaying those moments, allowing them to shape your confidence and your future decisions. But failure is not final unless you allow it to be. Every setback carries a lesson. Every mistake is an opportunity for growth. The people who achieve great things in life are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who refuse to let failure define them. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Each rock represents a past failure, a disappointment, or a painful memory. The longer you carry it, the heavier it becomes. Eventually, it weighs you down, slowing your progress and making every step feel exhausting. But what happens when you decide to take the backpack off? You feel lighter, freer, and able to move forward with more energy. That's what happens when you let go of past failures. You stop allowing them to weigh you down and instead use them as stepping stones for growth. Another thing that keeps people stuck is holding on to offenses and past hurts. Someone mistreated you, betrayed you, or let you down, and now that pain is shaping your future. Instead of moving forward, you carry resentment, bitterness, and anger. But here's the truth. Holding on to offense doesn't hurt the other person. It hurts you. It keeps you tied to the pain, preventing you from experiencing the freedom and peace that come with letting go. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened or saying that it was okay. It's about choosing to release the burden so you can move forward. When you hold on to anger, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. But when you forgive, you free yourself from the weight of that hurt. You take back control over your emotions and your future. Letting go also means releasing unhealthy attachments to people who are not meant to go with you into the next season of your life. Sometimes relationships serve a purpose for a time, but they are not meant to last forever. It's easy to hold on out of loyalty, history, or fear of being alone. But if a relationship is draining you, keeping you stuck, or pulling you away from your purpose, it may be time to release it. Growth requires surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, challenge you, and push you toward your highest potential. If you're constantly around negativity, drama, or discouragement, it will be difficult to step into the fullness of your potential. Releasing unhealthy relationships doesn't mean you don't care about people. It means you care enough about your future to protect it. Beyond relationships, letting go also means releasing outdated mindsets and beliefs that no longer serve you. Maybe you grew up hearing things like success is only for certain people, or I'm not good enough to achieve that. These thoughts may have shaped your thinking for years, but they are not the truth. The beliefs you hold will either empower you or limit you. If you want to grow, you must be willing to challenge and change the narratives that keep you from stepping into your full potential. Think about a hot air balloon. Before it can rise, the weights holding it down must be released. If even one weight remains, it won't be able to fully ascend. Your life works the same way. If you're holding on to past hurts, failures, negative thinking, or unhealthy attachments, they will keep you grounded, preventing you from rising to the next level. The good news is you have the power to let go. It's a choice. It may not happen overnight, and it may take intentional effort. But the moment you decide to release what no longer serves you, you open the door to greater opportunities. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing not to let the past control you. It means deciding that your future is more important than holding on to what was. It means making room for new blessings, new relationships, and new opportunities. So take a moment to reflect. Are you carrying things that no longer serve you? Are you allowing past failures, old relationships, or limiting beliefs to hold you back? If so, it's time to release them. It's time to step into the freedom, peace, and growth that come with letting go. Your future is too important to be weighed down by the past. Choose to release what no longer serves you and watch how high you can rise. Life is filled with opportunities for growth, but it's up to us to recognize and remove the things that are holding us back. Too often, people remain stuck, not because they lack potential, but because they allow certain barriers to stand in their way. Whether it's the people we surround ourselves with, the doubts we entertain, the fear that keeps us from stepping out, or the past that we refuse to release, these things can quietly limit us if we're not intentional about addressing them. Growth requires awareness. It requires the courage to evaluate where we are, to be honest about what is no longer serving us, and to make the necessary changes to move forward. It means shifting our mindset, challenging our excuses, and stepping into action even when it feels uncertain. Every person who has achieved something great had to make the decision to push past obstacles, to let go of what was comfortable and to embrace the possibilities ahead. Your future is not determined by your past, your circumstances, or even your current limitations. It is determined by the choices you make today. Will you continue to allow these barriers to block your growth, or will you rise above them, refusing to let them hold you back any longer? The path to a greater life is not waiting for perfect conditions, it's waiting for your decision. The moment you choose to break free from what's limiting you, you step into a new level of possibility. You'll find strength you didn't know you had, opportunities you didn't see before, and the confidence to pursue what you were always meant to achieve. So make the choice today. Decide that nothing will block your growth any longer. Decide that you will step forward with boldness, leaving behind everything that no longer serves you. The best version of you is waiting, but it's up to you to take the first step.